Hi, I'm Caroline, a teacher living in London who loves exploring the globe. Since 2020 has kept me firmly put in the UK, it's been a great excuse to spend time exploring more of my own country and spent 2 weeks undertaking a spectacular road trip around the Scottish Highlands and Islands during the summer holidays. With future overseas trips looking likely to be cancelled, I'll be making the most of weekends off and exploring places that are within day trip distance from London. In today's episode, I'll be jumping on 2 wheels going in search of wild ponies within the New Forest. Good morning and welcome to our day trip here in the New Forest. We have actually decided to drive down to the New Forest, in part because obviously COVID-19 is still going on in the world at the moment, and our government has recommended that wherever possible we don't actually use public transport. But one of the great things about the New Forest National Park is that you can take a train direct from London Waterloo in central London down to the New Forest in just over 90 minutes. We've come down on what we think is probably going to be the last nice weekend of, I suppose, the end of the summer. We've been quite blessed with a bit of an Indian summer. It's been quite warm these last couple of weekends, and we're just trying to make the most of it before it starts getting really chilly again. And we've picked up a couple of bikes, and the idea is that we're going to explore a small part of the New Forest on a couple of wheels. Part of my planning to come here this weekend, I discovered that there's something called panaging, and it's where the commoners who own a lot of the animals within the New Forest actually take the ponies and the horses and their cattle away from being able to graze on the common land. And this happens every autumn, and it started last weekend. So I'd come here expecting not actually to be able to see any of the horses or the ponies or the cows, and I've been really shocked because there's been so many that we've seen so far and of different varieties. And the reason why the commoners take them off of the land is because at this time of year a lot of the trees around here are dropping acorns and chestnuts and a lot of other things that would actually be quite poisonous to these animals if they were to eat them in quite large quantities. Instead, the commoners then release a whole load of pigs, not quite as many as what there are horses in here, and the pigs are fine to eat the nuts and the other bits and pieces that are quite poisonous to the horses and ponies. And in doing this, it means that the horses and ponies and the cows, they all get released late on in autumn, potentially even the beginning of winter, and they're not at risk of getting poisoned. So we were hoping that we might be able to see some pigs. So far, no pigs, but lots and lots of horses. We've even managed to see either llamas or alpacas. I'm not too sure what they were, because they were through a fence, but so far we're only about halfway through to Lyndhurst, which is where we're cycling up to, but so far it's been brilliant. ended up cycling slightly off the track that we were given just because we wanted to come somewhere for a Sunday pub lunch. The first pub that we got there around about 20 past midday, and the guy at the front of house in the pub said, "I'm afraid we won't be able to seat you guys until 3:30, and I was thinking, oh no, we're probably gonna go hungry for lunch today. So we cycled on into the actual town of Lyndhurst, and we managed to get seated here at the Swan pub. Luckily for us, they were only taking walk-ins, no table reservations were allowed to be made. I've had an absolutely delicious vegan Sunday roast, and now I've got the calories to be able to keep on going back. Despite this being a national park within my own country, I wasn't actually too sure why it was called the New Forest. Certainly being here and amongst all of the trees, I'm looking at these trees and there's no way in which these are new. So I've done a little bit of research, and it turns out that William I actually decided that he wanted to have somewhere where he could grow lots of trees, so a forest, and the purpose for this was so that he would release a lot of deer into the area so that he could then spend his spare time hunting the deer. That was all the way back in 1079, but still to this day there's actually 5 different species of deer that roam the New Forest. I'm keeping an eager eye out because I'd love to be able to see some of the deer, but unfortunately so far we've not been lucky to see any yet. But we are going to take a slight detour on the route that we're doing at the moment to a place called the Deer Field, so still keeping our fingers crossed that we might come across some. The 5 different species of deer are fallow, which is supposed to be the most common one found in the New Forest, and that's one that has the spots on it, and I don't think I've ever seen one of those deer before. And then the other 4 are sika, and there's a really small number of muntjac deer, and then there's red deer and roe deer as well. So we're going to keep on cycling and just keeping our eyes peeled, and hopefully we'll come across some. Park that we've just entered into. It's in the conservation area, and it's amazing, just all of these trees that I guess have died because there's barely any foliage on them anymore, and it's just, as soon as we come through that gate there into here, the landscape feels like it's just completely changed. Now it's a case of, can we see any deer? Even though this national park is called the New Forest, it turns out that when you take into consideration both woodlands and tree plantations, it's actually only just over half of the land that makes up this national park is wooded areas. The other just shy of 50% of the national park is actually made up with heathlands and farmlands, open fields such as this one that I'm cycling through at the moment. And down to the south of the national park, it actually opens up onto coastal marshes. It's particularly hot today for a late September's day. I think we're getting into the mid-20s at the moment, and It's really nice being able to then come out of the forest, getting into the sun. You pick up a little bit of heat, a little bit of warmth. Might just be getting that last bit of my tan as well before winter sets in. And then when you start to heat up a little bit, you then find yourself cycling back into the shade of the trees. So it's actually really quite nice that you're not just cycling through thick forest all day. And obviously when you come into a space like this, it's a lot easier to spot the ponies and horses, and also the cows as well. There's cows in this field too. Still, unfortunately, none of those pigs that have been released to eat all of the acorns and the nuts. And we've left the deer park or the deer fields now, so I'm not holding out too much hope to see any deer either, which is a little bit of a shame. But like I said earlier, I was coming here fully expecting to not actually get to see any of the ponies or the horses. That's the one that I really wanted to see, so I'm still happy. We've just dropped off the bikes and walking back along the side of the train tracks to get to the car, which we've parked on the other side, because on Saturdays and Sundays you can park on that side of the train tracks for free, just in the bays, whereas I think if you parked here in this station car park it would have cost us £8 something for the day. So I don't mind walking an extra couple of minutes if it means that half of my Sunday lunch has been paid for, but my legs are feeling awfully jelly-like at the moment. We don't own bikes, hence why we've come here and rented some, so we're not avid cyclists, and it's using muscles that I think I'm just not used to using. But today's been thoroughly enjoyable, and throughout the whole day we've been talking about how we need to buy some bikes, because I think especially with COVID-19 and everything that's going on at the moment that's restricting our international travel, I think it probably does just make sense to invest in a few bits and pieces that will allow us to enjoy travelling a bit more within the UK. And I think bikes might actually be the way to go. I can see us probably coming back down to the New Forest a bit more regularly if we do. Today has been just wonderful. I think we have been really lucky with the weather this late on in September. It can sometimes be a little bit hit and miss. We ended up doing quite an easy trail. This one that we did is recommended to be like a family one with young kids. As I say, we're not particularly well versed in using bikes, so it has been a little bit arduous for us, I guess, but it was just wonderful, really quite flat. There was the odd bit of uphill, but it ended no sooner had it started. And as you saw, just cycling along the trails, there were horses and ponies across them. We got out to open fields, and again plenty more horses, ponies, cows. Then obviously you go along to Lyndhurst, and then you've got a whole choice of different pubs that you can go to and stop off for lunch before returning back to Brockenhurst to return the bikes. So wonderful day. I'm sure we'll be back at the New Forest soon enough. Over the next few episodes, as we get further into autumn, I'll be visiting a handful of arboretums, parks and gardens to enjoy the changing of the colours. I'll join some friends in London's Richmond Park and go in search of deer as they approach the rutting season. If you haven't done so already, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can join me in my autumnal adventures.